Hi friends! Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a video you may not even recognize me in. Today I'm actually playing around with some brand new hair extensions and I have never played with hair extensions before, so I feel like I'm kind of like leaned into this like alternative like persona of me, of like my own version of Cher of something, because it's like really long. I hope it matches on camera. It's always hard to tell in person. It just kind of looks very even. The brand Irresistible Me sent me some of their 20-inch extensions in my hair color, so I have just been playing with it a lot. I'm gonna be reviewing this for you guys soon. Do you guys like these kinds of things? Are you interested in them? I am a novice at this. I'm super new to it. Never ever played with hair extensions. Even like at my wedding, I already had about this length of hair because I can grow my hair this long, and I've never needed extensions. So now that I've kind of been playing around with choppier, shorter, layered hair, this has been kind of fun, kind of throwing me back to what my hair looked like close to when I was getting married. And then for some reason I went even bolder and put on some very bold lashes today for funsies, a little bit more of a red top and a bolder lip. Friends, we are going to be talking about eyeshadow palettes. The thing that a lot of us just knuckle under and buy every time, or we get really excited for in subscription boxes, because I really want to do another deep dive into my eyeshadow palette collection and give you guys the full story on everything that's in there, because I told you I need to go through a declutter, because as I bring in more in 2022, which it's still a brand new year, it feels like. I know we just hit March, but it's still one of those things that I'm like, I have no more room in this space in my drawers for palettes. So I kind of wanted to, I remembered last year I went through so many palettes that I was like, this is from BOXYCHARM, this is from BOXYCHARM. I was like, why don't you just go through all of your BOXYCHARM palettes that you do have, like what you have currently in your collection? So then when it is time to kind of like go into that next phase, it might be a little bit more approachable for everyone, because we all know I got the gift of gab and I love telling you about the things that I have and why I have them, or why I'm not leaning into them, using them much, all of those things. So that's what this video is going to be today. But pretend that you do know this girl that you're seeing on camera, because she's got a lot of locks going. But it's me, I swear, just in a very hyper formula with a lot of hair everywhere. Do you guys want to see an in-depth review on these Irresistible Me extensions? Because I am pretty excited about them. I even have some sitting here next to me. I didn't even use them all. I'm still kind of learning how to do this. I was showing you guys on Instagram too. And if you don't follow me there to see the behind the scenes as things kind of roll in here and what I might be talking about on my channel, you can follow me right here. These are a lot of fun and they're actually really nice. This is real hair, and it just kind of flows really nicely in with the rest of my hair. I didn't even plan to do this today. They were just sitting here and I was like, I have to get into it. I have to. So yeah. But palettes. We're here to discuss palettes, and you guys know I have a bunch. Are you ready to dive into these with me? Grab your tea, grab your snack, grab your water, grab your limoncello water, get comfy, and let's get into all of this together. Cheers! Oh boy. And this is only one drawer. My other drawer below here also has quite a bit going on that does have some BOXYCHARM in there. So let's just get into it. I feel like I should just start with what's on top, because it's also what's on my eyes today. I have recently redone a little bit of my eyeshadow palette drawer. I used to organize it trying to be more like size or functionality in a way, to try to keep it all organized. But then this year I realized, girl, you're not using some of your eyeshadow palettes that you like with this layout. So switch it up. You're the boss here in your own beauty space. Decide how you want to do it. So I've mixed it up a little bit to be more reflective of like seasons, if that makes sense, or like where I'm at the moment, what I'm using the most. For example, back over here are some more fall-like palettes that maybe I wouldn't be using right this second. Then over here are more berry tones that I might pull into because of spring, but not necessarily right away. And then these are more of the purple, pink tones that I have, more of the blue and colorful green tones. And these were more of my neutral, approachable ones that I have been using up a bunch as well. Stuff that I'm still trying. And then there's the smaller section as well. There's just like, I'm trying to use it a little bit more, I don't know, organized to function the way I need to use it and the way I look at makeup maybe. But today I was kind of like, what do I want to try, knowing I want to film a BOXYCHARM eyeshadow palette video, because these are things I've had now over the years, stuff I got last year and even older. So this one is relatively new, but as much as I really enjoy their sustainability, I really enjoy some of the color story, I'm not sure how I like the formula for the shimmers. And if I can only use some of a palette, you guys know I need to do a declutter soon. So let's talk about what's on my eyes today, or part of. This is the Aether Beauty Desert Sunset palette. And this palette is super neutral, right? A lot of earth tones, we got some warmth to it. And today I wanted to remind myself, what did I think about this palette? So I went into a shade that I'm pretty positive I have before. It's this really nice, ooh, the pans are triangular, so you can't really get your finger in there for a decent swatch. Maybe like a brown tone with a little bit of mustard in the underneath base. Look how smooth that just went on, right? Super nice. Today I also tried to go in with a little bit of their shimmers, and this is a little bit more of a granular feel to it. It's not nearly as smooth. And then when I went to apply it on top of a base shadow that I had laid down from a different palette that was just kind of like an opaque nude shade, it left a lot to be desired. Like, it just looked like it had a light layer, a light dusting on it. It didn't even look as opaque as this does in this swatch here. So I think the shimmers are what's kind of pulling me back from using this palette as much as I thought I would. This isn't a declutter video. This is just me going through my collection. I need to remind myself of that, as I like to get a little chatty with you. So this is newer in my collection. I'm still feeling it out. This just isn't my favorite palette. Oh, the packaging is also sustainable, which I really like because it's cardboard. Everything in here has been made to be recyclable. I love that about the brand. Sometimes it's hard though to get it opened and closed because it doesn't quite meet all together. You have to kind of like finesse it just a touch. So I need to play some more with this palette and the shimmers, but this is one of the things that I've gotten more recently from BOXYCHARM. And I cannot swatch them all or we will be here all darn day. I know some of you guys said you'd be totally fine with me doing something like that. Like, do an all day thing, Nichole. We could hang out all day. You'd get sick of me, trust me. Something else that's newer that's right on top, so I'm gonna talk about it, and this came from BOXYCHARM, but technically this is an Ipsy brand, and I've recently mentioned this, so may as well just kind of co-sign on that. This is the Complex Culture Future So Bright eyeshadow palette. So to lean into what I already think about this, the mattes have actually been really nice. I've used them a couple of times. It's the shadows that are supposed to be the shimmers that I'm really struggling with. I don't believe they're pretty opaque, kind of like this just a little bit, but this has a ton more fluff and a ton more fallout. This is a very loosey-goosey palette, you know? She's kind of fallen out all over the place in the mattes and the shimmers, but in my thumbnail when I reviewed this palette originally, you saw this shade over here was all over my face, and it was really hard to apply to get anything to stick on the lid. And I did have on a primer. We've discussed we think the primer could be the problem. However, I still feel like the mattes were fine. Why are the shimmers given so much sass? So I'm still playing with this a bit. Also, the color story, not my favorite, to be fully honest with you. I don't know how often I would reach for it past the spring season, but we shall see. We'll let the play develop and decide, does she stay? Does she go? We'll find out. But I do want to hear your thoughts on that palette. I know a few of you guys have been giving me more of your feedback because you had just played with the mattes as well. Tell me if you've tried the shimmers and do you like them? One of the other things that's right up front that I have on my eyes today to go along with the Aether Beauty palette is an OG that I love from last February. This is the Wanderous Beauty Getaway Eye and Face palette. You guys know I have hit, all the pan on this one. I'm on the remnants on here on the sides now. I also have this on my lids today because after I tried the shimmer shadow from here, actually this one, and it was just a light bit of glitter on the lids and it wasn't giving me any opacity, any pigment. I went over here, literally put my finger into this, just kind of spread it nicely right here, popped it on, it was perfect. So a year later, this is still something I love so darn much. A lot of you guys know I couldn't shut up about it last year, and I'm, going into 2022 talking about my palette collection, and I still love it. Still think it's amazing. I used it over the weekend too to pop into some other shades as well. It's such an easy palette. I like when something is easy but can make everything look beautiful. This next little palette is something I do find myself pulling out for a variety of eye looks. So even though it's smaller, I feel like it does suit to kind of be in that more neutral organization of where I'm talking about. This is a Fenty palette. It's a tiny little 7 Cadet Snap Shadow palette. And I didn't know that I would reach for this as much as I do. I really love these two center matte shades. I also like these two darker shades that are shimmers on the outside. I was not impressed too much with this top shade over here. I hardly reach into this shade that I think of as more of like a dark gray, greenish tone. I don't reach into that one too much, but I probably have at some point. But my main love for this palette is like this center T right down here. These shadows are great with a fluffy brush just for the crease for a very basic look, or if you're wanting to build up and give a little bit more complexity to a look, like I like to have in the spring and fall times a little bit of that mustard undertone. So jumping into this more vibrant canary-ish yellow shade and putting it with this neutral tone, mixing them together, putting it in my crease on my skin tone, it looks really nice. It can also complement a lot of different eye looks. So this is something I do find myself going into quite a bit, considering I kind of think of it as an assist palette. It's the one I like to have on deck if I need something good for the crease, but I know what I want to put on the lids kind of thing. Are we ready to hike up a price? Because something that I got, was it in 2021 or in 2020? Gosh, some of these palettes have been with me for so long that I've kind of gone through a journey with them. The packaging doesn't look bougie, but it's like 85 bucks. So this is the Viseart Neutral Eyeshadow Matte Palette. It's all mattes and it's a lot of neutrals, and I really have fallen in love with this over the past year. I heard so much about Viseart shadows, I was excited to try them, but I also had a struggle with them, especially in the beginning, because they do have some kickback where you'll put your brush in and it'll fluff a little bit at you all over the place, and you do have to kind of take your time with these shadows. They don't pop on immediately pigmented, but they do blend really well. So you just kind of layer, go through it, you kind of create a gorgeous look. And I've created a lot of great looks with this that take some time but look like they were effortless, but they're not. But the shadows are so quality. I've really fallen in love with this palette. I've used this as an assist palette or standalone palette. I've done some dramatic looks and neutral looks with it. And I do like this a lot. Like I said, super pricey, but really quality, and it's made me want to try more of these shadows. I want to say this probably came in like a luxe or a premium box at some point in time. I think I've had a little bit of lip liner on my chin this whole time, so bear with me. This palette is another neutral lover's dream, and this is something that I used a ton, I want to say like 2 years ago. And then I started kind of moving and adjusting my makeup and used it as a little bit of assist palette. It can do a full look, and there are shades in here though that I only love for the crease, and then can use that as a base to move on to maybe more colorful palettes. This is the Zoeva Caramel palette, and as you can see, it's got a lot of big pans. It's got a lot of variety in here. It's got some warms, it's got some golds. It's definitely got a lot to play with. There was a time that I had a palette in my collection that I don't think I have anymore that was kind of similar to this. It was the Dose of Colors one, that's what it was. And it had a lot of the similar shades in here, and this palette won out over the Dose of Colors for me because I found this to be a really blendable formula, very smooth, and you can build it up too. My favorite shade to go into is Finish Sensual. It's got a huge dip into it, and I also really love Universal Delight. That also has a huge dip into it. So these are the shades that I would go into quite a bit to either start an eye look or maybe subdue an eye look if I needed to. I also really liked the shimmers. Wow, these are still super buttery, super creamy. They feel really nice. Maybe this one feels a little less nice, the Almost Burnt. The liquid center feels amazing. I also liked Edible Gem because it's got these gold flecks into it, so it starts matte and then it really has that little bit of shimmer to it that makes it really pretty. But these are gorgeous neutral earth tone shades that obviously the past few years we've all been really gravitating to. Beautiful blend. I mean, look at that. This is that liquid center shade. It is so stunning. This is that matte shade that has just a few flecks of gold in it, and in person I can absolutely see just a touch of flecks. Nothing overwhelming, but if you're not a glitter person, that could bother you. And then there's this gold shade that it looks like you'd have to build up if you wanted a lot to it though. There are certain things in this palette that I don't really gravitate to, and that's kind of one of them. but this has been with me for a while, so I'm trying to feel out, do I use this a bunch? Because I have a whole big section, the biggest section of this organized drawer, organized being subjective, and a lot of them are neutrals, and the 2 shades in here that I said I used a ton, I haven't really reached for a bunch. So has it had its moment in the sun with me? I need to kind of like figure that out. This is a palette I was excited to get this year because I've already told you guys an OG for me that I hit pan on so quickly was the Wander Beauty Getaway palette last year. So when this year rolled around and I saw another Wander Beauty eyeshadow palette, you know I was down to try it. This is the Wanderous Escape palette. And this has a lot of nice shades in it as well. I wondered if it could be like a dupe in some way for this palette, so maybe I wouldn't have to go seek out another one of these. It's not. I definitely tried that on camera with you. However, I have liked these. Now, I will say I haven't given this as much attention as I did this right away, and maybe it is because I'm still using this and still love this a lot, but I have played with these a little bit and I have liked them. I need to kind of put this towards the front of my rotation though. Sometimes when a palette is a bit longer and you're trying to organize with more square, well, rectangle, but not as sharp of a rectangle, like sometimes you move like something like this towards the back, obviously, because aesthetically you're like, oh, that makes sense. But I need to get past aesthetic and work more towards, hey, use this, try this. You want to know more about this. So I need to take this from back here and move this up here. Do you know what I mean? Are you following me at all? Do we care anymore? Okay, I'll move on. So my entire purple collection is all from BOXYCHARM. So we should just get into this together so then I can organize it all back together. How many of you guys fell in love with Alamar from one of their original palettes? Don't worry, that's still gonna be in here, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. What I'm talking about is like that next one that we got from BOXYCHARM. I'm pretty sure this was the next eyeshadow palette we got. We've gotten a lot of things from Alamar, but the Spanglish palette. This is something that I have kept in my collection even though I don't gravitate to a lot of pinks and purples on my eyes. Although a lot of you guys tell me you should more though. You should. Purple looks good on you. Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. It'll give me the confidence, hopefully one day, to do that more. And because I don't wear a ton of certain shades, I do have a declutter I have already filmed. I don't think I mentioned that in the beginning of this video. So not everything, I don't know which video is going to go up first, this one or that one, but stay tuned, or I'll link above for you a declutter that I just did, and there are some eyeshadow palettes in there. But back to this video. All that being said, I am jumping into my Spanglish palette, and this palette beat out some of the things that were in that declutter that I've already filmed. Like I said, I don't know which one's going up first, but I knew that this palette had some special shades in here. And what I'll say about the Alamar formula overall in my experience is the shimmers, mwah, are the part that really shine in the palette. No pun intended, but you can take it as one. Compared to some of the other ones I was just talking about where I'm like, oh, the mattes are so good, but I wish the shimmers were better. It's the absolute opposite with the Alamar formula, in my personal opinion and experience. The mattes, they're okay. They're fine. They're not my favorites. They're not my favorites. I've definitely had better, but I've also had worse. So I feel like the mattes are a little middle of the road for me, but the shimmers are beautiful. I've really loved how the shimmers can play on the lids. I've loved how the shimmers can smooth out onto your lid and just be so powerfully beautiful. They've got a lot going for them. They really do, and I couldn't dupe them. That was the other thing about some of the shades that I could not commit myself to keeping a ton to because I don't wear the shades a lot. I was like, let's pare this down. Let's be smart about this while going through the declutter. If I could not dupe or find something close to some of the shades that I really liked in certain palettes, then this one won over others. So sometimes you just gotta make the hard choices. So this is still definitely in my collection, but you know, I gotta see how much I use it this year. But something else that I fell in love with that made me want to put on purples and pinks when that's not a color story that I feel like always looks its best on me was HipDot. HipDot is a brand that shocked me when I started getting it from BOXYCHARM because it made me take note. Their formula, so good. I have found myself even going back into this palette of a bunch of colors that I don't usually fall in love with because of the formula. So I would make it work where I'd go into obviously the neutrals, because obviously that's where I roll, but then I would pop into some more of these other shades and really create a gorgeous blown out look. I feel like it spreads and blends so beautifully. It's a purple and pink, you know, color story, but those are hard to formulate. Those aren't always the easiest also to work with on the eyes. So the fact that this makes it easy, this even passed my like early morning fast test when I had a fast morning, did not have time to mess around, but I needed a quality look. And I was like, I need to know for the girls in the audience that are moms on the go, corporate people that have businesses to go to, but they want to look nice, want some color on their lids. Would this work? Yes. Yes, this would. 100%. The Ciate Woman, I Am Woman, What's Your Superpower palette is a big guy. And also, it's a big title to say. I can never get it out. This, I think of all of the, yes, there are some neutrals in here, but I also think of, it's kind of leaning more into the pink tones, dusty pinks, berries, purples. And this palette is the only, I think, Ciate London eyeshadow palette that I like. And it's the truth. I've tried quite a bit from BOXYCHARM as well. It's not like this is like only like maybe the second one. I've tried a few. This is the only one that I have found is blendable. Sticks on my eyes, stays there, creates gorgeous looks, has some complexity to it, and it's got a lot of variety. This is a palette I have found even on my off days from filming that I have jumped into because it's really great quality. This one shocked me. Okay, so there's another neutral one here, but it's a little bit bigger, and the only way it would fit in there was next to those guys. So let's talk really quick about another nude palette that I love. This is the Transitions palette from Dominique Cosmetics. A lot of you guys are very familiar with this palette because you got it too and fell in love. It has a gorgeous mirror, but can we please discuss the size of these pans and the quality of these shadows? Whew, girl, when I tell you I fell in love with this palette, there are not enough words. There's not enough words in the American language to best articulate how good these are. I have compared this formula also to the Viseart. I think it's a little different, but it's that standard of quality. It is that great a quality. And I think this is 44 bucks and Viseart's like 85. So make a note. I think you have some cool tones, you have some warm tones, you have variety in here even with this all matte palette that is neutrals, but this is where a lot of us are vibing ever since this whole world collapsed. Over the past few years, we've been like, I'm still wanting to look beautiful, I'm still wanting to look sexy if I feel like it, but I want simplicity, I want quality. This is quality. I'm so grateful that we got this in a BOXYCHARM. I think it was maybe a luxe or a premium. I can't remember, but I'm so grateful to have gotten this palette because it is stunning, and I haven't pulled it out in a little bit, and now I'm just like, I want to pull this out tomorrow. I do, because even though it's neutrals, it's super opaque, super creamy, but still blendable. You can still work with this palette and another palette together. This could be an assist palette, or to do everything you need. But in a layout like this, I feel like this can appeal to a lot of different skin tones. I feel like this can appeal to a lot of different makeup users, whether you do like natural, glam. It can do a lot of things. There's versatility with the formula, but also with the vast shade range you get in this one palette. It's really nice, really nice. Highly recommend. Now I'm making a mess and I need to put myself back together before I move on. Okay, so now is another face palette style thing, but I tend to put a lot of the face palettes into my eyeshadow palette drawer if they have eyeshadows, because that seems to be the space where maybe I would remember them more, but also have a little bit more real estate to store things. And I like this brand, but I don't know if this palette is gonna make it through this year or through the next round of eyeshadow palette declutters, if I'm going to be honest with you. This is the Kenya, I'm never gonna say her last name right and I don't wanna butcher it, Beauty Glow and Go Kit. So again, beautiful mirror. This is gonna be great for travel. It's got eyeshadows, it's got brow pieces into it that are powder, which I love when you think of brows, because there have been times I forgot a brow pencil and things got rough. Ooh, speaking of brows, today I'm trying something brand new for my brows. I got a shiny object syndrome, sorry. And I'm working with something else. So if my brows look different today, it is an e.l.f. product. It's a fiber piece. So I'm testing stuff for you right now. But there is no powder in my brows, and I almost had a quick itch to be like, oh, maybe I should use this really quick on my brows, but I think they're okay. There's a blush, there's some highlighters, and a bronzer. So what I can tell you about this particular piece, and I feel like I've got too many red shades now on my finger to properly swatch it for you, so I'll try this hand. these are a bit warmer toned than I was anticipating compared to what you see in the pan. And I'm gonna say that about the face powders as well. To give you an idea, that's them on my fingertips. You can see they kind of tend to lean a little bit on the red side, which isn't necessarily the best for my skin tone. And I just remember thinking that it was kind of lackluster. I wasn't totally in love with the way it looked on my skin, but also how it lasted. Kind of the same for the face powder. So I need to kind of put this, I guess, over here in my try now palette section and then kind of make a better informed decision, because if I can gift this to someone else while it's still relatively new, still fresh in my collection, I would feel better about gifting it away rather than holding on to it hoping I'll come around to it when I have plenty in this tiny beauty space. Plenty. Another palette that has kind of a little bit of everything in it is something that I got last year from a premium box, I do believe, and they delayed on sending me my premium for like an extra month or something last year, and so I was like bird dogging this because I was concerned I wasn't going to get this Ofra palette, and I was really hoping for it because I'd never tried their shadows. This was my introduction to their eyeshadows. And I think it still to this day might be the only eyeshadows I have from them. This is the Mini Mix Good to Go palette. This got a lot of love in the BOXYCHARM Awards last year. A lot of people liked this and one of their other palettes. While I can say I adore their highlighters, I was really curious how I'd feel about their bronzers. There's a blush in here and eyeshadows. This is stunning. Love the highlighter, highly recommend. The shadows are good. I do like them. I think I was a little, not disappointed, but maybe surprised that I didn't fall as in love with them as I thought I would, but that could also be color story and the way it laid on my skin, and maybe when I got this, I think it was summer, so maybe I was too tan at the time for maybe some of these more vibrant shades. I want to try maybe just kind of like a neutral palette from them, because I do like how this bronzer looks on my crease. A couple of you guys had said, ooh, try that in your crease, you'll love it. And you were so right, I did. These are a lot more vibrant. We got some orange tones. There's this nude shade, but it definitely has some red undertones to it. So I feel like a little bit more peachy on me maybe. It's still nice, but it definitely wasn't what I was, you know, maybe just manifesting for my look that day or the days that I was trying it. But it isn't bad. Like, I do remember loving this shimmer though, and it seems like a really, oh, look at that. That is gorgeous. So I think I just need to try some more color stories. Oh my gosh, look at this. I need to pull that one out just for that shade because that is beautiful. Ooh, 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 I'm getting ideas. I think I really like the shimmers. I think I'm mostly talking about their mattes because the mattes is kind of where I was like, oh, that's fine. It's fine. I think I need a little bit of a different color story, but I still like this a lot. Okay, Persona. Persona showed up for me over the past year, and I was like, thank you, BOXYCHARM, for getting some of Persona products into our boxes, into our lives, because this is so nice. I've loved so much of their stuff since being introduced to them. This is the Identity 2 palette. And while this one looks like it could be a lot of wild fun, it also has a lot of wild neutrals. And is that a sentence? Wild neutrals? It is today. I have loved both of these. I've also loved, just these top three, I've made a whole look out of. And super easy, super fast, super blendable, great formula. But also if I want to get a little, you know, colorful, which I feel like maybe we all haven't done a lot, I've loved this green, this gold shade, beautiful. I did a swatch off, I think, between some of these gold shades and green shades. This one has still stayed in my collection because of the quality of how great. I just have to do it. Have to do it. I know I've got a lot of swatches on my fingers, but it is really yummy. I feel like it lasts really well, and you can build it or you can just be subtle with color as well. And that's hard to do. That's not an easy feat sometimes. So I have really enjoyed these, even the purples in here. Like I said, I don't gravitate to a ton of purples. This is a really nice palette, super quality. Okay, now we're gonna get into some more color here and some things that I've loved for a really long time. So tell me if you still have some of these next items in your makeup collection, in the drawers. Do you use them? Because, oh, I've had these for a long time if you've been with BOXYCHARM as long as I have. Girl, do you still have, like I said earlier, the OG Alamar palette? Do you still have it? Because I know some people were like, okay, it doesn't have a ton of colors in it, because when we were first introduced to them, we didn't know what to anticipate, right? We didn't know what to expect. But then we got into those shimmer shadows, and we all just, our mouths dropped. We were just stunned at how good it is. Again, the mattes definitely aren't nearly as dipped into as much as the shimmers for me, but these are the shimmers that are still my favorites from Alamar. That La Costa shade, the El Malcon shade up here at the very top, these two still have my heart and are stunning for all year round. Summer, winter, you name it, you can dress up an eye look. These are beautiful blues and greens, especially when blues and greens make a moment for that under eye look or for the lids for summer. And let's be serious. We all know that trends come back around. What is hot one season may not be the following, but it comes back. So, except for the skinny brows. I will not go back to skinny brows because that ruined me and why I have to really be mindful of all my brow products. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta be mindful. No more Pam Anderson brows for this girl's face. No. I don't care what Gen Z thinks should happen. I'm not doing it. Anyway. The blues and greens could be back at any moment. I feel like they're already kind of like, I'll see the blues again, kind of making their rounds. So I think this palette is still something I have to have in my collection. It's still a staple for me, and I mostly think of it for these top 4 shades, not gonna lie. But I have jumped into these as well because they do make a beautiful look. Now, who still has, so this is gonna really test you. Who still has the Grandiose palette from Ace Beauty? Who? I've recently told you guys that Ace Beauty found my channel and they asked me if I wanted to be an ambassador for their shadows, and you know, well, for their brand, and you know this is the palette that I thought of. These are the shadows I thought of because I have loved these for so long. This is gorgeous for the summer. This is gorgeous for the spring with these peachy, corally tones. Fall, abso-freaking-lutely. Christmas, you know it because Holly Berry Bright. I mean, this is stunning. I have still loved these, and I still think the formula, oh my gosh, even though I've had this now since, guys, when did we get this? When did we get the, I don't even know. This was before the pandemic. Oh man, I've had this palette a while. Maybe I should just buy a new one because I don't, but they still have been performing just fine. The swatches are still super pigmented, super pow and beautiful. Whew. That's gorgeous. That's blending great. On the wrist even, we're really testing it. That's really smooth and pigmented. Oh wow. You guys, like, do I need to say words? I don't think I do. So beautiful. So pretty, obsessed with this palette still to this day, and why when Ace Beauty reached out, I was like, yeah, let's be friends, because I love these so much. And this is the Grandiose palette. How long ago did we get this? Do you still have it? Do you still love it? Tell me the things. Did you pan on it? Ooh, tell me that. Because this fits into the same color story, this is newer to my collection from last year. Again, from Ace Beauty. This is the Falling For You palette. And I got this before Ace Beauty reached out to me or anything, and I do have another palette from them that I think some of you guys said that you got from a BOXYCHARM, so I'll just do a quick feature. The Nostalgia palette, this is a very vibrant palette that I think is going to be stunning this summer and this spring. I mean, so good. Some of you guys said you did get this. I don't think I got this in a BOXYCHARM. I did get this though, so maybe I got this instead. I don't remember. But I have loved this. Can I just tell you, hold on, I got to clean off this finger, because this gold shade, girl, oh, girl. I mean, on the lids, that is a summer moment. It's like a foil, but it's not. And it's really opaque, and I don't know if on my skin tone you'll be able to see what it looks like in person, but dang, it's so stinking pretty. I've used this color a bunch. I've used some of these neutral shades, the ones that are up here like squash. I also really liked apple on the lids because I thought that this was a really pretty moment here. Oh yeah. There's a lot in here that I just think their formula is next level. Very smooth, very rich and luxe feeling. Oh. Some things I've had in here for so long, I have to stop and go, wait, when did you get this? Who did you get this from? Was this a BOXYCHARM? Is this a Luxe? Did you buy that one? Or is this a pop-up? Some of these things may even be pop-ups, but I think I think one of these up here is, I don't remember if either one of these is a pop-up now. I've told you to get this in the pop-up. I'm going to stop saying pop-up now and just tell you about the Tarte Pro Remix palette, because I got this 2019, maybe? 2018? Gosh. I need a BOXYCHARM historian with me because my brain over these past few years is just like, this is all one big year. This palette, though, is so, I mean, I didn't shut up about it for so long, and I tell you every time I see it in the pop-up to get it. I tell you every single time because I think it is really great. Yes, you have neutrals, but also you have some amazing shimmers in here. You have a lot of variety to play with. This is a really nice formula, and maybe it's just because I really like the Amazonian clay palettes. And I think the Amazonian clay formula is just that good. But I got this one, fell in love with it, used the green as liners in the summer and spring just to kind of give it a little pop to a neutral look. This was my favorite palette to do that with. It's also got some blues in here. We've got some neutrals, some warm rusty shades. We've also got some burnt shades in here that are a little bit more fiery if you're needing to like zhuzh up a look. And then this palette is what made me be really excited and hopeful to get this Tarte Pro palette. And where my nudes at? They're all right here. Super easy to use. Again, the Amazonian clay palette formula is stunning. It's good. It's good. It's really good. I mean, I love this a lot. I actually now want to figure out a way to pull this one actually front and center for me at the moment. But that's kind of hard with how big and bulky it is when you're dealing with a bunch of smaller palettes that are more like this. So when you're putting this up front, it blocks all of the view. But now I feel like I need to move this one around a little bit. Maybe this one too. Yeah, I love these. Like, these are palettes that I feel like Tarte, I don't talk about Tarte a lot. I feel like we don't get a lot of Tarte anymore in BOXYCHARM. Maybe that's why. I've lost the logo in some of these because I've used them up so much. They're really good. One more little one here, and then I got to go into the big palette, and we'll see how many things are down in the big palette drawer, because I can already see I'm at like the 53-minute mark. Let's talk about Rare Beauty. I used this palette as an assist palette. I got this, I believe, in a Luxe or Premium, I think a Premium. Maybe it was a Luxe. Was there a Rare Beauty takeover? Was that a fever dream? I can't remember. But this palette I like to use as an assist. I'm not a huge fan of this shade, but it does okay. I'm really more into the greens and the golds with this palette. This shade's been pretty okay. The blue I've only touched into a little bit here and there for like some liner if I'm needing like a pop of blue moment. But I've liked this a lot. It's a great assist palette. I do have similar-ish shades, but when I was doing a declutter recently behind the scenes, I was like comparing and swatching, and these were still unique enough that I wanted them in my collection between the formula and the color story. So this has definitely lasted. Now I gotta go into the big drawer, and I gotta charge this battery because I've been talking a lot and swatching more than I meant to. Hold on. Okay. Checking my eyelashes to make sure they're not popping off, and they're not popping off. They're just so big that they're fluffed up in the corner. So I promise it's not lifting, although on camera it might look like that. I have two down here that I associated with BOXYCHARM, but they're both face palettes. One of them I don't talk about too much, but I use quite a bit. And then there's another one that won all of your awards last year in the BOXYCHARM Awards. If you want me to get in depth too with all the face palettes, because I feel like there's a ton of face palettes that we've gotten from BOXYCHARM, especially over this past year, let me know and I can dive into these for you as well. But I know this video is already really long, so I gotta talk to you about a specific palette that's down here that's huge, that I almost bought on my own, like with my own money before I got it from BOXYCHARM, and I thought I'd love it. But I have not touched it in months, and I need to make a decision if I'm gonna try to prioritize this. And if so, how am I gonna do it? Because it's a big palette. Big, big, big. This is gonna change my white balance because this bright orange shade always does. But this is the ABH Norvina collection palette. This is the volume, this is the volume 3. It is so big and heavy, I can't even keep it open. But this is a lot of vibrant shades, yes. As we can see, this is a great palette for like, well, a lot of seasons actually, if you look at it. But immediately you see some of the vibrant pops, and then obviously the great orange outside, so you're like, summer, spring, colorful, even some fall, right? I have had plenty of seasons now to add this into a rotation, yet somehow she keeps falling off my radar, and I think it's because I was not in love with, again, the shimmers. Sometimes a formula has a great matte formula, but their shimmers are only okay compared to what you have in your collection and you love, so I tend to be like, ooh, I can use everything out of this palette, whereas this is big, I gotta hunt for it, pull it out, and then only use one or two things from it. I've not been as in love with this palette as I thought I would be, which kind of stinks, but it's also kind of good because I really thought about buying this one on my own, and this one is an expensive baby. It's not like she's a cheap little girl at all. So I was loving getting this in my BOXYCHARM, right? To try it, see what it's all about, give you the reviews. But do you find that you love these? Like, I love some ABH. I do. The gold standard for eyeshadow formulas for a long time was Anastasia and her Renaissance palette. Like, this is what set this baby on the map. We all fell in love, right? I was late to the boat. One of you guys sent this to me after my surgery because you were like, girl, treat yourself, try it. And I do love it. I get the hype now. But I don't associate the Norvina shadows with this formula. They're probably not. Actually, there's probably other people like right now yelling in my comments, they're not the same. I understand they're not. Are they? Are they not? Don't yell at me, but just tell me. I don't know. This is the palette that I would have chose too. Like, this is the palette I did choose in my choice items because I was purchasing BOXYCHARM Luxes at the time, premiums, whichever one this was in. It was a premium. It was premium because it was a takeover box. It's all coming back to me. Q Celine Dion. It's all coming back to me now. I got this in a premium takeover box. I chose this shade, this whole palette, because I knew these shades were way more my jam, and I'd already gotten a lot of purples. And purples, I was like, I already have purple. I don't need as much purple. Give me color. Although there is still purple in here, obviously. Just don't find myself reaching it for as much. So that could be also a seasonal thing as far as like, where are we at with the season of makeup? We're in a neutral season, right? Let me see how the play develops with colors, how I feel like using these. I don't want to get rid of this palette because I wanted it for so long and I feel like I want to play with it more. I do. I just need to be inspired to do so. And it can be a little overwhelming, honestly. Oh, you guys, I feel like I have a lot more to go in my BOXYCHARM series if you're wanting that, as far as like palettes of their face palettes we've gotten from BOXYCHARM, other makeup we've gotten from BOXYCHARM. While I've kind of pulled back on my paid for subscriptions, tell me if you want to see more of this style of video, because this could remind you of stuff you have in your collection. This is just what I still have that I still love and I'm using, because if it's not in my collection right now, I'm not loving it. Now, I still do have quite a bit of eyeshadows though. Oh no! There's always one that's gotta fall. Please don't be broken, please don't be broken, please don't be broken, please don't be broken. This is gonna tell you how you really feel about a palette. I can't do that trust fall every time just to see how I feel about a palette if I would be really heartbroken if it broke, but it didn't break! Yay! This is why I need to declutter though, because just trying to set a palette down into the drawer, it's too full. It fell out. This is why I need to get ruthless. Having said all that, I have quite a few palettes in here that I've purchased over the years, including more recently, that I have in this collection. And today was just about eyeshadow palettes. I'm even looking down in here going, oh, that is technically an eye product. Should I talk about that from BOXYCHARM? No, don't do it. This is already long enough. But I have other things in here. I've got ColourPop in here. I've got some Naked palettes in here. I've got some Too Faced in here. I've got a lot of ColourPop. I got some e.l.f. products in here. I've got a lot of things in here as far as eyeshadow palettes go. This is a great way, I thought, to introduce what's in my palette drawers at the moment. This is just the BOXYCHARM section. Let me know if you want to see the rest of it, all the other things. Because, guys, this was a long one. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me, and tell me all the things that are eyeshadow palettes that you are still loving. Down in the comments below, do you still have some of the stuff I have? Do you have different stuff? Okay, now I gotta know. Do you want to know more about this long hair I got going here? Definitely. Tell me all the details. I'm excited to hear from you guys. I love talking about eyeshadow palettes, but if you guys know, that's one of my things. There's a lot of things about makeup that gets me all excited, but eyeshadow palettes, that's the one thing that I'm like, maybe I should buy another one. Maybe I should get, it's an itch, you know? You get the itch. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you happen to be new to my loud, weird, crazy, unique channel, hi new friends. I really hope you take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of my eyeshadow palettes, more of my collection. If you want more of this collection series, let a girl know. Hit the like button if you don't like to comment, because I know some people don't. That really helps me out too, to let YouTube know to push my little channel out there even further. Bye, friends.